Joining us now for reaction from Minneapolis is John Iannarelli. He's a former national spokesperson for the FBI. And here in Washington is Joe diGenova, a former U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C. Joe, your reaction to the McCabe departure and the media from the moment the story broke on all the other cables and on NBC, CBS, ABC tonight, it was Trump to blame.
Well, to blame is McCabe, and to blame is Comey, and everybody else at the senior levels of the FBI. This is quite a disgraceful moment for the Bureau. As someone who has worked with the Bureau for over 30 years, I'm truly saddened by the fall from grace of everybody there. But make no mistake about it, this was a plot to exonerate Hillary Clinton illegally, and then if she lost the election, to frame Donald Trump with an illegal crime. This is the worst period in the history of the Bureau, much worse than the late Hoover period when they were spying on domestic groups. This was the weaponization of the FBI for political purposes by all the people at the upper echelon of the Bureau. And I think it's really time for people in the other party who seem to make nothing but excuses for the senior people at the Bureau and the Department of Justice, may I say, to kind of wake up and see that what's coming now is a federal grand jury, and it's not going to be pretty.
John, you represented the Bureau in the public domain, and you're the spokesperson for the Bureau. Your reaction to the day's developments and the effort to blame Donald Trump for the early retirement of the deputy director?
Well, Andy McCabe had been talking for some time that he was looking to go on terminal leave and exit the Bureau. I think that was hastened as a result of the director just yesterday going to the Hill, looking at the information that went into this dossier. But I will tell you, no president, whether it's Trump, Obama, or anyone else, tells the FBI what to do. The FBI is independent. They are there for the people. And to think for a minute that a sitting president would be able to push out a deputy director, that goes against everything the FBI has stood for the past 109 years.
Yeah, well, did you speak to McCabe a few weeks ago?
I happened to be at headquarters a couple of weeks ago and chatted with him briefly.
And what did he say?
Well, we didn't talk about him possibly leaving. At that time, he was in the office while the director was out on other business. So essentially, he's the man in charge. It seemed to be business as usual. However, everybody in the Bureau knew that McCabe's days would be running short because of the history. It was time for the Bureau to move on with a clean slate and get back to the work that the FBI does.
All right. And, Joe, I mean, he wanted to leave in the spring. The IG report is coming out in the spring. But it's a wild coincidence if indeed the FBI director strolls up to Capitol Hill on Sunday, reads this very short report, 4 pages, and then it just so happens that Monday, McCabe's like, you know something, I'd rather go skiing in Breckenridge for the next 2 weeks. I'm not going to be doing this work any longer.
Well, according to the New York Times and the latest publications, Christopher Wray was shocked on Sunday when he read the 4 pages. Now, first of all, if that's the case, where has he been since he was sworn in? There is enough evidence on the public record
before that,
with the information from the Inspector General and from the Hill, with the legal release of documents, that it was clear that Mr. McCabe and others had engaged in highly improper, probably illegal activity in the FISA court stuff, along with the dossier from Christopher Steele. So, first of all, McCabe should have been gone a long time ago, and so should Strzok and Page and all the people involved in this. This is a dark moment for the FBI. It's going to take a lot for them to recover from this.
We had Jim Comey tweeting after the McCabe news came out. He's tweeting quite a bit. It's very poetic, his tweets.
Yes.
He said, Special Agent Andrew McCabe stood tall over the last 8 months. He always makes height references, Comey. I wonder why. When small people were trying to tear down an institution we all depend on. He served with distinction for 2 decades. I wish Andy well. I also wish continued strength for the rest of the FBI. America needs you. John, what do you make of the Comey tweet? Well, small people,
I will tell you,
tall people. He's 6'8", by the way, Comey. Go ahead.
Obviously, McCabe is part of Comey's legacy. Now, Andrew McCabe did a lot of good things in the Bureau during his career, but it doesn't matter. When you're doing something wrong, that is the time that it has to be stopped immediately. I had some very good agents that made an unfortunate mistake along the way, and they were summarily dismissed from the FBI.
John, he was the guy to whom Peter Strzok reported, correct? That's how it went down. And McCabe could have, Joe, we're almost out of time, McCabe could have used just one of the regular field office set of investigators to do both the Clinton and the Trump investigation. These are professionals who could run this thing and run it right. He chose to put together this team, correct?
Yeah.
Comey, not an unfortunate mistake.
Comey was a dirty cop, and unfortunately, he dirtied up everybody else around him.